So good morning. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedules this morning to join us or to watch back the recording. I do appreciate how busy everybody is. I'm going to start us off with a bit of housekeeping and then have a run through of the agenda for this morning. We will be recording the session today, as I've just said, and we'll be sharing that with everyone over the next couple of days. So keep an eye out for that bits or share with colleagues. Currently got everybody muted and off video just because of the volume of registrations that we had for the session. But towards the end, we will have some time for Q&A. So if you pop your hand up and we'll allow individuals to come off mute. That being said, these sessions do work a lot better when there is a two-way dialogue, so feel free to post questions or comments throughout in the chat. Megan's going to be keeping on top of all of those, or reach out afterwards. I'll put everybody's contact details up in the last slide, so we'd love to hear any feedback or questions from you as well. Before I introduce everyone, we're just going to run a very quick poll. We do have quite a lot of registrations for this morning's session, and it's quite a mixed bag. So I'd like to get an understanding of the level of Copilot awareness that everybody considers themselves to have at the moment. So I know that you'll have seen the LinkedIn posts and various other hype about Copilot in the last weeks and months. But as a general awareness, and you've not really dug into it, do you know what it does, what it can do? Have you seen some demos, some videos perhaps, or are you a little bit further on in the journey and have purchased some Copilot licenses and at that adoption stage at the moment? So while we do that, I will introduce our presenters for today. My name is Lindsay Clemson and I am the Strategic Partner Manager for HTG. I've been in the industry in the Microsoft partner ecosystem for the last 11 years, but I joined HTG in October of last year. So HTG are a leading Microsoft partner. We're founded and headquartered in Newcastle. You'll be able to tell from my accent that I am not from Newcastle, and our staff and in fact our customers are throughout the UK and Ireland, and we've got some offices in Belfast, Edinburgh and London to support that Newcastle HQ. We do a lot of our work around the Microsoft modern work and security stack, as well as Azure, doing things like AVD, and some of our customers include Clarion House and Durham Community Action, Mortimer College and Gateshead Council. Got the lovely Chris Lyons with me from Microsoft today. He's going to start us off with some insight into the charity landscape from a Microsoft perspective. Myself and Matt from HTG are then going to go through some hopefully relatable scenarios where Copilot could drive efficiencies specifically within the not-for-profit sector. And then Niall's going to round us off with some thoughts around making sure your estate is in a state that's structured and secured to hopefully put you in a stronger position for a Copilot rollout. I will jump quickly back into the chat and see if I can, if the polls kind of populated. We'll have a look at that a little bit later on, and I'll pass over to Chris to kick us off.
Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you very much. So firstly, thank you. Thank you for the HTG guys for the opportunity to present, and thank you for giving up your time to join our webinar. I think we've all got a little bit of webinar fatigue over the last 4 or 5 years during COVID, so it's still really great for you to show up. So if you just click onto the next slide, Lindsay, and we'll kick off. So I just want to spend some time today to go over what Microsoft are doing and what we're doing to empower nonprofits to accelerate social good with our world-class technology solutions. Later, you will see Copilot. I genuinely feel like that's all that Microsoft does at the moment and speaks about, but I'm so excited. I think it's one of the most exciting products we've ever released, and hopefully you can see today how it can help you with your daily tasks and your workflows. But before we dive into that, let me just set the scene and give you some background on the nonprofit sector and what Microsoft is doing to help. Next slide, please. So at Microsoft, our mission is to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. We believe that technology is a real powerful force for empowering people and organizations. And within our team, we see it every day, whether that be data and now more recently AI helping predict malaria outbreaks, or humanitarian organizations delivering digital literacy to displace people. But we truly believe that the success of this sector, the non-profit sector, is critical to how we achieve our mission as a company. But to do this, we must make the benefits of our technology accessible and really, really relevant for you as non-profits. We are a customer-first, partner-led company. We start with the needs of our customers and we work with our partners to deliver the best outcomes for each organisation. Next slide, please, Lindsay. So supporting non-profits is part of our DNA. It's who we are at Microsoft. It started in 1983 with the inception of our employee giving campaign, but our work's only just begun. This year will mark TSI's 7-year anniversary in September, but we are more motivated than ever. And I've just thrown an acronym out there without explaining it, so that's one in the swear box. TSI is Tech for Social Impact, and I'll explain a little bit more about that on the next slide. But if you look at some of the figures on this slide, it's absolutely crazy the amount of scale that we are working on within Tech for Social Impact. We provided $3.8 billion of grants and discounted software and services, and that was over 325,000 organizations that we equipped with this technology. Just to put that in perspective, if Microsoft Tech for Social Impact was a country, an aid-giving country, we'd be number 12 in the world. And that is unbelievable and shows the power that we've got. However, we don't want to stop. We've only just started. That 325,000 is a big number, but there's around 4 to 8 million charities in the world, depending which way the wind's blowing and which report you look at. But everything we do is driven by this deep sense of purpose and the timeless values of trust and privacy, transparency and inclusion. And I think these are values that really our customers have come to expect from us now as Microsoft, and today's society kind of requires of us. So next slide, please, Lindsay. So what is Tech for Social Impact, and what do we do? So we realized that we really need to evolve as a business and think about a different business model to support you guys. So back in 2017, Microsoft Philanthropies brought its contribution efforts together with the commercial sales business that we have, and we created TSI. Our ambition is to empower every single nonprofit and humanitarian organization to accelerate social good. We've combined our grants with our commercial engagement into one single team. So we only support nonprofits. And our aim is to accelerate your missions through technology. No one has ever donated to your charity and said, we really want this money to go on Microsoft licenses. They want it to go and help your mission, whether that be clean up the beaches, save dolphins, or cure cancer. We don't just give away free licenses, we provide grants, but my favorite bit about Tech for Social Impact is we reinvest. So any profits made from discounted sales to larger charities, we put back into the sector to help smaller ones. So for example, if you're an organization with 10 or fewer employees, which actually makes up 80% of the world's 4 million non-profit organizations, you can run your IT infrastructure for free from a Microsoft side. So we give you 10 free business premium licenses, we give you an Azure grant, and again, you can talk to the guys at HTG to activate them. We also offer free digital skills training. So we really believe that capacity building is critical on how we land this technology. But we can't do any of this without our partners. So in the bottom right corner, our partner ecosystem is what makes Microsoft. We absolutely live and die by these guys. They are shoulders to cry on. Your pricing experts, your licensing experts, and please reach out to these guys. So again, a big thank you again for HTG for putting such a focus on this sector in need. So next slide, please, Lindsay. I think we're at a really crazy point in time right now as we look at AI. I've heard people compare this to when the calculator came out. I've heard people compare it to when the internet came out. We really do truly believe we're at a real good inflection point in time. And the world is changing, technology is advancing, and the potential is real for meaningful impact. So as we go through today, just think about how your nonprofit will seize the full potential AI, but really then think about, whilst you're doing that, you need to safeguard your mission. You need to safeguard your data, and most importantly, you need to safeguard your employees, because they're what makes your world go round. The next slide, please. And this is my favorite slide because it's got a picture of Bill Gates. So the question on everyone's mind is, will AI take our jobs? It's probably the first thing that people thought internally at Microsoft, externally at our partners and at our customers when things like ChatGPT was launched. But if you just rewind back to 1987, not just because that's when I was born, believe it or not, but this is when Microsoft Excel was launched. And everyone thought that was the end of bookkeepers, that this was going to take over the world, bookkeepers were going to be gone. But actually, bookkeepers use Microsoft Excel to do their job better. They use it as a tool. Another example I would give is when the introduction of the ATM came out. Anyone remember when you have to get cash out of the wall? That was meant to be the end of the bank clerk or the bank teller, as they would say in the US. But actually now you go and use your bank for more interesting things and to go and do cool things with your money, hopefully. So both technologies were job creators overall, rather than taking our jobs. Okay, next slide. So this is just really about some great news. So this is a Work Lab Work Trend Index done by Microsoft, and 70% of people are saying they're open to have AI help them with their jobs. Leaders are 2 times more likely to want to use AI to increase productivity. So if you're one of these 82% of leaders saying that your employees need to learn new skills, hopefully, as we go through this deck today and you see Copilot in action, you'll be able to see some of them new skills that are on offer. Next slide, please. Always back to food. The question really here was, will you rather take Copilot or a free lunch? And the outstanding thing here was 80% of people chose a free lunch, chose Copilot over a free lunch. And 30% of them people actually said that it would influence their choice of employer. So Copilot's a smart assistant. Again, you'll see it in action shortly, but it will help you your everyday tasks, whether that be summarizing emails, quickly going through PDFs, or writing a talk track for a presentation, as I did at about 9:56 this morning for this presentation. It works across different apps, devices, it learns from you, and it's designed to be really, really easy to use. Next slide, please, Lindsay. So as we look at Microsoft Tech for Social Impact and what gets us out of bed in the morning, the question really is what is our role as Microsoft in a modern day? So there was a renowned economist called Milton Friedman who previously said the role of a company is to serve its shareholders and that greed is good. But that definition's evolved because guess what? We don't all exist in this parallel universe or a vacuum outside the planet that only thinks about greed. We're affected by the world around us, whether that be global warming, whether that be poverty, or whether it be our market in Africa, where billions and billions of people are world affected by their environment. So the new definition of a company, what a company needs to do, was defined by 181 CEOs that came together, Satya Nadella being one of them. And they came up with the role of a company being, it's not just to serve shareholders, but it's to serve stakeholders. And our stakeholders at Microsoft are our employees, so me. They're our partners, so the guys that are on the call from HTG. But most importantly, they're you. They're our customers and the communities that we operate in. So quite simply, our philosophy at Microsoft is really, really simple. Companies that can do more should do more, and we are. So with that, I'm going to hand over back to the HTG guys. Thank you so much again for joining. Hope you learned something new, if it wasn't just one acronym of CSI. And hopefully you'll be able to see the wonder that is Copilot as we go through today.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah, that was really good. So there was a recent working trend index report carried out that highlighted that 64% of employees don't have enough time and energy to do their job. And employees that are lacking time and energy to do their job are 3.5 more times likely to struggle with innovation or strategic thinking. So employees are starting to embrace the idea of using AI to support their work. In fact, 70% of employees are open to delegating some of their work to AI to lessen their workloads. And while for many, AI-related job loss is top of mind, the data also shows that managers are looking to leverage AI to empower people, not replace them. Next slide, please. So as you can see from the headline here, 87% of leaders believe AI will give their organizations a competitive edge. The question every leader is asking themselves right now is, how will your organisation seize the full potential of AI and take advantage of this inflection point, all while safeguarding your business, your data and your employees? More importantly for the charity sector, what will it do for your volunteers and the people you serve and support? Next slide, please. With Copilot being seen as Microsoft's biggest product launch in decades, you can see on this graph right now the scale of growth AI has had since it first went mainstream with ChatGPT. We've never experienced diffusion at this scale in the tech industry. We can see here that the growth curve is no longer at a gentle slope or even a steep slope. In fact, you can no longer call it a curve, it's more of a vertical line. It took 16 years for mobile phones to hit 100 million users, the internet 7 years, and Facebook 4.5 years, and now ChatGPT in just 3 months. So running a charity organisation involves various repetitive tasks that could benefit from streamlining or automation. So by automating these tasks, you can free up staff time to focus on more meaningful and impactful work. Imagine being able to generate slick donation reports and analytics without spending hours hunched over a spreadsheet or automatically responding to FAQs via email. So Microsoft have launched Copilot for Microsoft 365 in November 2023 for customers that were only on enterprise agreement and for those willing to purchase a minimum of 300 licenses. Around about a month ago, it was announced that these requirements would be removed, and as of today, Copilot for M365 is generally available to all customers. The cost associated is $30 per user per month, which is around £285 for an annual subscription, and that is something you have to pay annually up front. It's a considerable investment, but so what does it actually do? We've been having conversations with customers over the last six months or so, and of course, even more so in the last 6 weeks. There's definitely a lot of hype, but sometimes there can be confusion about exactly what Copilot will and won't do. Common questions that are being asked are, is it worth the investment? Which team should I give it to first? And will it make certain job roles obsolete? Or even will it make you a cup of tea? Having seen it in action, the best way to describe it is that it works alongside you to supplement the work that you and your team do. It's a massive time saver embedded in the core Microsoft applications such as Word, Excel, PowerPoint that millions of people use every day. So employees and teams can leverage Copilot to help them do tasks like summarizing long PDFs, drafting emails more efficiently, and get answers to complex questions with data from several sources. For someone like myself who's been in the industry for a number of years, the term garbage in and garbage out has never been more relevant. We'll talk in detail later on about making sure your data is well structured and secure, but there's also a level of user adoption in Copilot. So having to think about what you're asking Copilot is key. Remember to use clear and specific language. So instead of asking, how do I write a good email? You can ask, how do I write a formal email requesting a meeting with a client? The more information you provide, the better Copilot can tailor its response to your needs. You can provide the purpose, audience, tone and format of your document, as well as any relevant details or examples. You can also attach or link any existing documents or sources that you want Copilot to refer to. So let's jump straight into a couple of use cases and scenarios where it could help you or someone in your organisation. So I'll pass it over to Lindsay. We'll talk through this in a bit more further detail for now.
Thank you so much, Matt. So starting off with marketing, marketing is a core function of the majority, if not all, charitable organisations for obvious reasons, and promoting the charity's missions and initiatives involves things like identifying target audiences, setting goals, and then developing the campaigns to raise awareness and drive engagement. So what if you could empower your marketing team with Copilot to create compelling content in a lot less time? So content like social media posts, blog articles, email newsletters, making sure that the content aligns with your organisation's brand, but effectively communicating the impact of the charity's work. So asking Copilot something like, create a series of 12 informal LinkedIn posts based on this event overview and this marketing plan, and linking to those two documents. From there, you can monitor the performance of the ongoing campaign, track key metrics like website traffic or donation conversions, and then analyze the data to identify trends, measure success, and then most importantly, making data-driven decisions to optimize future campaigns. We're going to take a look at David here. David is a marketing manager for Contoso, which is our fictitious charity for the day. He's going to start his day focused on a new advertising campaign. So he uses the prompt in Copilot, prepare a 500-word brief outlining the advertising strategy from Contoso marketing plan, and he links to his document. He asks it to include sections on the target market, pricing, tone, imagery, and taglines. This is a really good example of a prompt that Matt had referenced there, because he's setting expectations, he's given it a goal, he's given it some context and a source to pull from. He might realise after reading that first draft that it needs to be a little bit longer, and he can ask Copilot to redraft that to update it to be 800 words, adding in more detail about the target market, for example. Once he's happy with the brief, David has a meeting with his team to brainstorm some ideas for a new slogan for his campaign. He asks Copilot to categorise the ideas in whiteboards so that they're easier for him and his team to visualise. He then spends some time using Copilot to generate charts in Excel, using some survey data to see trends, and he can feed that back quite quickly to management. After lunch, David's got a Teams meeting with his manager, and they're discussing the key events that are coming up in this calendar year. He asks Copilot to create a table to categorise those events discussed so far in order of priority. Straight after the meeting, he takes that list of prioritised events and asks Copilot to update the roadmap deck that he has in PowerPoint based on the list. And then at the end of the day, David's got some emails to catch up on, which is far too familiar, but he speeds that work up by asking Copilot to summarise the email threads and prepare some draft responses. Now, Copilot is not perfect, and of course, David can't ask it to prepare a marketing brief and then just send it on and close it off without checking and potentially spending a bit of time amending that. But I think having 500 words, 800 words, 8,000 words as a starting point, and then being able to chop and change that is just so powerful and a massive time saver. In terms of creating content, I know that I personally, I'll just sit and stare at a blank Word document or a blank bit of paper. So having that starting point is really important. And if during each of these 6 tasks we've saved David 5 minutes, then we've given him back half an hour of his day. And you can quite quickly see how that starts to multiply up within an organisation and save on time and money. I'll pass back to Matt now to go through an HR scenario.
Yeah, thank you, Lindsay. So yeah, now this area is of particular interest for business owners and HR departments in particular. So typically onboarding costs are a full year's salary for each employee lost to depreciation. Now, what Copilot can actually do is create a more efficient hiring process that reduces costs and helps ensure that you are selecting the most suitable candidates. I'm just going to spend the next couple of minutes going through the typical process for hiring a new employee and where Copilot can potentially support saving time and money. So you want to start off by creating a job description. You can ask Copilot in Word to suggest the skills, qualifications, and responsibilities. Next, when you want to discover the best candidates for a position, by having Copilot extract skills, experience, and qualifications from a set of CVs that you've received, or even better, have Copilot suggest the top 3 candidates for interviews based on the job description and the CVs of all applicants. Then you can ask it to suggest a set of interview questions based on the job requirements. Now, for the interview process, you can conduct a group interview in Teams and ask Copilot to summarise the contribution of each candidate and suggest follow-up questions. As a side note, though, I just wanted to cover Copilot within Teams meeting is definitely one of the best tools I've seen from using this personally. So, for example, imagine you have an appointment that conflicts with your weekly business review. What if you could actually do both? With Copilot, you can follow a meeting, and then after the meeting ends, Copilot will summarize what you have missed. You'll get a notification in Teams when the recap is ready. This recap will highlight content that was shared and summarize notes and any action items for you or others whose names were mentioned. You might see that one of your customers was discussed and you want to learn more. You can ask Copilot by clarifying questions and it provides a detailed response. It can tell you why a certain decision was made and it provides citations from this transcript so you can see where Copilot drew these conclusions. It's a huge time saver. So as the meeting progresses, you can check in on where people stand, the sentiment of a large audience, and you can even ask Copilot if there are any unresolved questions. It's pretty amazing to see this happen in real time during a meeting. I appreciate I've gone slightly off track here, but anyway, back to the interview. So you've interviewed your candidates. Now, what you want to do is command Copilot in Word to draft a customized offer letter based on your inputs using the company letterhead template and referencing the benefits handbook document. And then you can create powerful onboarding materials in PowerPoint. So during the onboarding process, your new employee mentions they're colorblind. You can ask Copilot to update the PowerPoint deck to adapt so that it's clearer for someone who is colorblind to consume, which is probably one of the coolest features I've seen when you consider that 1 in 12 men in the UK are colorblind. And Microsoft has had a color filter feature as part of Windows for several years now, but there are still so many organizations that we talk to who don't realize the array of free accessibility tools built into the Microsoft products. So hopefully Copilot will bring these features to the surface. I will pass the next section on now to Lindsay.
Thank you. And before I kick off on this one, I'm just going to run one more quick poll. Again, just there's a good mix of organisations on the call, so I would be interested to understand the size of IT team within the organisation. So do you have a one-man band who is trying to keep the lights on as well as run proactive projects? Is it partially or completely outsourced, or do you have quite comprehensive IT team or teams within the organisation? And the reason I ask is you can see here the last example that I have is a run through of a day in the life of an IT manager. So I know that charity organisations typically operate with limited budgets compared to commercial organisations. And IT teams might have to find, more cost-effective solutions and prioritise that spending on essential IT infrastructure. You might rely on donated hardware, software, and/or services, and that means having to manage those donations and make sure that they meet your organisation's needs, integrate them into existing IT systems, but also maintain compatibility and importantly, security. And while all organisations need to adhere to certain regulations and compliance standards, charities can face additional scrutiny due to that non-profit status. So that could be things like compliance with data protection regulations, tax requirements, or donor privacy laws. And I know that has a huge impact on how you have to manage and secure IT systems and the data that resides within them. I think overall, the role of an IT manager at a charity organisation involves having to be more resourceful, having a level of flexibility, and often more community engagement as well compared to a traditional organisation. Have a quick check of the poll in the chat here. Looks like small team, 45% is the majority. Okay. So we're going to have a look at Hilary here. She is the IT manager at Contoso. So she starts her morning checking emails, chat messages, tickets, all these things that have come in overnight, making sure there aren't any urgent issues or requests. She asks Copilot to prioritise those tasks based on how important they are, how they're going to impact daily operations, and then she asks Copilot actually to draft a couple of responses in Outlook to some of them. She attends a daily stand-up to discuss the priorities for her team for the day, and during the meeting, they go off in a tangent a couple of times. So Hilary asks Copilot to check if there are any unanswered questions that they need to circle back to. Next, Hilary's going to start on the project plan for the Windows 11 upgrade that she's got planned for later in the year. And she asked Copilot to create a project plan based on a previous project plan and some Windows 11 documentation. Now, I mentioned earlier, Copilot is not there to replace Hilary, and the document that it produces here is not going to be perfect, but it should be a substantial starting point for her to build on. Charity organisations frequently rely on volunteers who might not be the most tech savvy, and Hilary has got to provide some additional training and support for volunteers who are assisting her with some data entry. So after lunch, she asked Copilot to summarise the 5 most frequently raised IT tickets and then to create a slide deck based on the resolutions for each of those. She unexpectedly gets pulled in by one of her team to troubleshoot a server issue and misses one of her team's meetings as a result. She's followed that meeting though, so like Matt was chatting about, she checks the recap that Copilot has produced, asks for the key points and actions from the meeting, and can go on with her day. And then towards the end of the day, she's set aside some time to research some new devices for that Windows 11 rollout, and she asked Copilot to produce a report based on the best laptops for charity organisations. So it's time for the bit that most of you have probably signed up for, to see it in action. I did not want to leave myself at the mercy of the demo gods, especially as depending on what you ask Copilot and the size of document it's going to produce, it can take a couple of minutes. So I do have a recording. I recorded it a couple of days ago, and it's within the HTG environment, so it is very much a real life experience. I'll just pull it back to the start there. So starting in the browser here, you've got Copilot on the left-hand rail, and you can see on the right-hand there some prompts that I had already used that day. It's got some suggestions there as well to start you off, and I'm going to click on one of those. It suggests, different files, meetings, emails that you might want to reference as part of that, and I'm going to ask Copilot to write an email to my. Oh, the video isn't displaying. Somebody said, can anybody else see it, or is that the case for everybody?
I was just about to type the same. Yeah.
It's not.
Demo gods has got you anyway.
I know. I know. It's sitting playing in line for me. Give me 2 seconds. I don't want to open it in stream. Serves me right for saying demo gods, doesn't it? Okay, I'll stop sharing the deck for now, and just run this in Chrome. I mean Edge, Chris, sorry. Fab, can everybody see that now?
Yeah, that's perfect, Lindsay.
Fab, thank you. I'll just close that down. I'll start again from the beginning. Okay, so as I said, on the left-hand rail, clicking on the Copilot icon, I've got some previous prompts and then also some suggestions to get me started. There's suggestions there of recent files and emails, but what I'm actually going to do is write an email to my team about mental health awareness. And it goes away and has a think for a couple of minutes, and then quite quickly writes that draft email. Now, there's a reference in there to an event that HTG are running around accessibility tools for mental health, so that's very specific, obviously, to us, but I've asked it then to add details about mental health resources, and you can see that it's pulled back a document written by Rebecca, who's actually on our HR team, so it's pulling resources from within our environment using the Microsoft graph. Then asked it to make the email more casual so that it's ready to send for my team. Then I remember that there's an email come in about the Microsoft Digital Defence Report, and I've asked Copilot what are the key points from that email. When you hit the backslash there, it'll let you search for emails, files, all those different things within the Microsoft 365 environment. It's summarised that email for you there, and then it's suggested some future prompts, and I've clicked on one of those to get some more details about the email. Then going in to PowerPoint within the browser, and you can see up at the top right there, we've got the Copilot icon within the apps. Now from here, going back to Matt's point about accessibility, something that I'm quite passionate about personally. So I'm going to ask Copilot to create a deck with the top Microsoft 365 accessibility features. Again, it goes away, it has a think. We've chopped about 30 seconds out of that video there, but it's produced 5 slides, it's got 5 titles, it's got related images, it's even got some notes in there as well. I've noticed it's not got the colour filters that Matt mentioned, and I've asked it to add a slide about colour filters in Windows 11 and how to access them. So it goes away, it has a think, and it produces that slide again quite quickly. And within the notes there, you've got exactly how to access those colour filters. So when you open a new application, Copilot will pop up. You can see it here. And I'm going to use the example that I had with Hilary, the IT manager. Create a project plan for Windows 11 deployment, giving it as much context as I can. It's for 40 users, and we're currently using Windows 10. This is an example of one that did take a couple of minutes, but it is quite a comprehensive document that it produces. So I think there's about 2 minutes of time sped up here, but it goes away and it produces a 4-page document. I think there's about 1,500 words, and you can see in there it's referencing the 40 users, and it's used that to adapt the timeline. It's got things in there like budget, executive summary, all the things that you would expect from a deployment plan or a project plan. When it gets to the end, there's a pop-up that asks you if you want to either accept what Copilot's produced or regenerate it, or just discard it altogether. The next example I've got is a document that's kind of 95% of the way there already. I just need to add an introduction, and I'm going to ask it to summarise this existing document about the Thunderbolt bike, not the Thunderbird bike that I keep calling it. Write a short paragraph summarising the main points of this document. And again, this one has not been sped up. This one just takes a couple of seconds because it's just producing that short paragraph. From there, I think this product specification is ready to give to our marketing team. So I'm going to open a new document and ask it to write a series of 5 LinkedIn posts based on, hit the backslash, type Thunderbolt, and it's going to reference that document. I'm just adding in some context. Each post should be a minimum of 100 words, and that's just based on user experience. The first time that I asked it to write some LinkedIn posts, it came back with essays for each of them. So I've capped it at 100 words, and I've then added the tone that I'd like those to be in, saying that it is informal LinkedIn posts. And I think there's maybe 20 seconds odd left of this video, you can see, and it produces those 5 actually very good LinkedIn posts. If I worked for Really Cloud, I think I would be quite happy to pretty much hand that over to my marketing team. So if I stop sharing that just now and come back and share the deck again, I would like to resume. Correct. Can everybody see that again? Warm fuzzy feelings, thumbs up, smashing. So hope that's given everyone a flavour of the capabilities of Copilot, where it might add value either within your team, within the organisation. And I will pass over to Niall now, who's going to go over a little bit more about how we advise our customers in terms of that readiness piece.
Excellent, thank you. Hi everyone, I'm Niall. I'm the Operations Director at HTG, and I'm responsible for all things delivery and process here. Firstly, I hope you enjoyed the demos and the glimpse into what's possible with Copilot for 365. And secondly, I wanted to show you this graphic on the screen to highlight the scope of Copilot, not just for Microsoft 365, but for all the products in your organization. So whilst we're focusing on the modern work segment today, you will see Copilot can actually touch all areas of your business, from data and AI to operating systems and business applications. And now you can start to see the power and reach of Copilot. And that's why it's really important to talk about Copilot Readiness today. So what is Copilot Readiness? In essence, it's putting restrictions on what data people should and shouldn't see to stop malicious or unintentional intent, such as searching for staff salaries, searching for the board report, maybe even personal Teams messages, or searching for David, the marketing manager's personal files. Next slide, please. So the best way to prepare yourself for Copilot is to work through what we at HTG call the security pyramid. The pyramid is built on the principles of zero trust, and what you're seeing on screen is a graphical representation of the journey a customer should take to protect their business and be ready for Copilot. The zero trust strategy ensures that every entry point to your network and data, either an identity or a device, is authenticated and protected, reducing the risk of security breaches. Now, zero trust, unfortunately, isn't just something you can turn on at the flick of a switch. It is a journey. And the best way I can describe this is, think of climbing Mount Everest. Everyone wants to get to the top, but there are multiple paths and base camps en route. People are all at different stages of the climb and at varying levels of experience and need different tools at different times. But ultimately, the goal is still the same. It's to get to the top. And the security journey is no different. Everyone is at different stages within the pyramid. And as you can see, the pyramid is split into 3 distinct areas: Zero Trust Foundation, Threat Defense, and Data Protection. Starting with Zero Trust, this covers your user identities and their access to your tenant and services. Sometimes it's referred to as Identity and Access Management, or IAM for short. Moving up a layer, Threat Defense covers onboarding your organization into the Microsoft Defender XDR platform to proactively and reactively secure identities, devices, and cloud applications. Lastly, Data Protection. This is the implementation of data security policies to protect your organization's data within Microsoft 365 from internal and external threats or mishandling of that data. At HTG, we actually mandate to our customers that you traverse up the pyramid before you can use Copilot securely. Now, that's not to say you can't use Copilot without the pyramid components in place. You absolutely can, but not necessarily securely, and you're leaving your data potentially exposed internally and externally. Next slide, please. So to understand what is being exposed, this visual covers how Copilot actually gathers its data from within your 365 tenant. If you have them in place, Copilot inherits your organization's existing Microsoft 365 security, compliance, and privacy policies. It is logically isolated and protected within your own tenant, and it's always within your control. As you can see on the slide there, data in your 365 tenant lives in the Microsoft graph, and the semantic index on the left-hand side of the slide is the librarian in the library. It enables Copilot for Microsoft 365 to find and deliver relevant responses to a user's prompts based on both the user and company data stored in the graph. But what does that all mean? Well, by design, Copilot for 365 only generates responses based on information that users explicitly have been given permission to access. If I refer back to the pyramid, the data protection layer, that actually implements important capabilities such as sensitivity labels and retention labels to ensure the semantic index for Copilot is only showing the end user the data that they should be able to see. Next slide, please. So by following Microsoft and HTG security strategy, you'll implement robust identity and access management, endpoint management, and data protection policies, creating a cyber resilient and stable work environment. However, and unfortunately there is always a but, you need to ensure you have the right licensing in place to achieve this. So as you can see at the bottom of the slide, there are multiple prerequisite licenses for Copilot for Microsoft 365. As a minimum, you need business standard, but to get to a Copilot ready state, only business premium, E5, or an E3 with a relevant security add-on will enable you to use it securely. Now, the productivity features within these licenses are designed to work together to minimize operational cost and complexity, similar to Copilot. I know from experience that charities tend to use a combination of applications such as Zoom, Slack Premium. They have desks phones. They use apps such as Calendly to arrange meeting bookings. Microsoft 365 licensing consolidates all of those, saving money and most importantly, saving your time to manage them all. Plus, you get market-leading security features to boot. Next slide, please. At HTG, for customers with 300 users or under, we actually mandate Business Premium. For customers over 300 users, we mandate an E3 plus a security add-on or an E5 license. As mentioned in the previous slides, these are the prerequisite licenses to getting Copilot ready. And I won't go into detail on each line on the table in the slide, but as you can see, the security features available in Business Premium compared to Business Standard is obvious. And as a registered not-for-profit organization, as Chris mentioned at the start of the presentation, you're actually entitled to 10 free Business Premium licenses, which means you can start using the benefits of Business Premium straight away. If you are unsure what licenses you do have, what the cost difference is, or the benefits of each, please pop a question in this chat or reach out to me, Matt, and or Lindsay at the end of the webinar, and we can happily provide more information. We will share contact details at the end of the webinar. Next slide, please. So you'll be happy to know I'm coming to an end now, and I just wanted to summarize what we've discussed today. So in essence, Copilot for 365 is a great tool for enhancing productivity. However, it is crucial to implement measures to guarantee the security of you, your business, and your customers when using it. At HTG, our expertise is cloud cybersecurity in the modern workplace. By collaborating with Microsoft and leveraging their advanced security capabilities, in addition to our extensive tooling and managed services, we can enable high-performing, secure digital workspaces for every user, no matter their location or device. Next slide, please. Just want to say thank you so much for your time and listening to my dulcet tones there. I'll hand it back over to Lindsay to run off the webinar. Thank you.
And I very almost didn't come off mute there. Yeah, just to echo, Niall, thank you so much for your time this morning. There's not any questions in the chat at the moment. If you've got any questions, let us know, either a chat, Q&A. You can see the details on screen. I'd love to hear feedback about the session today, if the content was, what you were expecting, if there was anything missing. And we are running complimentary sessions on Copilot and Copilot Readiness. So if you're interested in that, then please get in touch. Question in the chat from Caroline. In ChatGPT, there's a function where you can turn off the data input so that the information does not feed into the wider LLM and reduces the risk of sensitive data leakage. Does Copilot have this functionality too?
So the data, oh, sorry, Chris, I'll let you answer this one.
I was going to say, yeah. So as long as you are logged in within Edge, you'll see a nice little green kind of stamp of approval that says secured. And this means that it's not training the wider LLM. And absolutely, if you've got the paid for Copilot license, you will absolutely get that as well. But if you do use the free license, which probably takes on to the next question from Alex, as long as you're logged in with your organizational account within Edge, you will see that protected badge. Just on Alex's point there, in terms of how can you prevent users sharing data not signed in, I think this comes back down to policy. And I've hosted a couple of roundtables over the last few days, and unsurprisingly, everybody had an IT policy, but also unsurprisingly, not many people had an AI policy yet. So it's really, really important that you do set that at an organizational level. Anything else, Niall, to add to that?
No, and I know in the next question, Alex, you put in steps you can take to restrict access. You can use Copilot for 365 audit logs. You can use obviously elements of Purview as well to see what's being accessed and shared.
Fab. Well, thank you so much again. One more. Will Copilot work with desktop version? Yes, it does. So in the video that I had there, the Word application was it was the full Pro Plus downloadable app. The PowerPoint demo was within the browser. Just wanted to give a flavour of both. any sample AI policies we can use.
I'm sure we could ask Copilot
I
to
was
come
gonna
up with one
say
for
that's
us.
the obvious answer, isn't it?
Alex, I've not got any to hand, to be honest, but again, I'm sure that I could do a bit of digging and find some out. If you want to contact me, my email's on the screen there. I can speak to maybe some organisations that have implemented AI policy, and maybe even whether that be Copilot or not, it might be a rival LLM. You know, it's an AI policy rather than just a Copilot policy. I think that's the important thing.
Fab. I think we are able to give everybody 8 minutes back before you jump on to the next one. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.